Hi, I'm Cailey, a librarian here at Mentor Public Library.
And I'm Meg, also a librarian, and welcome to this week's edition of All Booked Up with Cailey and Meg, where each time we give you different book recommendations on a specific theme. This time, we're going to be looking at young adult books that take place in outer space. These books are fun, fast-paced, and out of this world.
Yes, and all of the books that we're going to talk about today are available through the library, either in physical form or online through Libby or Hoopla.
My first one is Ignite the Stars by Maura Milan. And this is her debut book and the first in a series. The series has fighter pilots, hidden identities, and a main character known as space's most notorious outlaw, who might have a more complex background than you would initially believe. So this one takes place in a galaxy where the dominant nation is the Olympus Commonwealth. They're like this imperial nation that they're not above squashing a smaller planet or nation if it's in their best interest. So they're kind of ruthless. But more than any nation, more than any planet, their desire is to catch the notorious outlaw known as Ayakocha. And so everyone in the galaxy fears this outlaw, and they say, fear him. But little do they know, once they actually do finally manage to catch this outlaw, they never would have guessed that this outlaw is a 17-year-old girl with advanced skills for her age. So when they catch Aya, they're like, this girl is super skilled and talented. She could actually be an asset for our empire. So they force her to join their elite, prestigious military academy. And Aya, of course, has a mind of her own, and she's not happy about this at all. So she's going to use this opportunity to spy and get information out to her brother. So while they want to turn her to their side, she's like, I have other plans. Because in Aya's view, all of her quote unquote crimes have actually been missions to save remaining refugees from her home planet, because her home planet was one of the ones destroyed by the Olympus Commonwealth. So it's kind of a cool mix of, is she a villain? Is she not? We'll see whose side you're on. But while she's at the academy, she meets some people that she kind of grows to form an attachment to. There's Bryn, the mysterious girl who dyes her hair from her natural navy color to hide her identity. So she has like this mysterious heritage and past that you learn about in the book. There's also the flight instructor Knives, who is very charming, and she grows to like in a way as well. So a lot of the tension in this book comes from, do these relationships sway her allegiance, her ultimate allegiance? So it's an interesting tension. And I also she kind of gives me Loki vibes, where no one so, how is that going to advance in the plot? So I think there's just a lot of fun going with this. And if you want to get into a series, it's a good book to jump onto.
It gives me sort of like a Robin Hood, Wild West kind of vibe, like both of those things.
Right.
But it's space.
Love it. What's yours, Cailey?
So my first one is called Contagion by Erin Bowman. And this is sort of like sci-fi meets horror. It's a super quick, spacey read. And in the future, there are many planets that have been colonized by humans. And there's this rare energy source that's been discovered and is being harvested called Corarium. One company called Hevets Industries dominates the market on Corarium, and they're constantly searching for new sources. So Hevets Industries has crews on multiple planets. Some of these planets are not even habitable. So one day, Hevets gets an SOS from one of the crews on the uninhabitable planets and sends a rescue team out to retrieve the team that's calling for SOS. That is where our main characters come in. The team sent is this team of 7, and they're not exactly a quality crew, but they were the ones that were closest to where the SOS was coming from. So basically, by default, they were the ones that were sent. The captain, Dylan, is this inexperienced captain, but he's very headstrong and has very stubborn, strong opinions. And as soon as they arrive on the planet, he starts looking for survivors, without taking into account what might be on the planet. And he does not find any survivors, only dead bodies. The doctor on the crew, Lisbeth, appears baffled by the cause of death, but then she has an intern with her named Thea, who thinks that the doctor knows more than she's telling everyone. Also on the crew is Nova, the pilot, Sullivan, a mechanic, and a couple of tech guys by the name of Toby and Cleaver. And the author switches perspective throughout the book that kind of gives you different insight into the different characters, their skills, and what they're observing on the planet. The crew finds this creepy video left behind that chills them to the bone. And there's a survivor that is found on the planet, but can he be trusted? Because how did he manage to survive when something else killed everyone else on this planet? And is it going to kill the crew next? So it ends on a cliffhanger, and there is a sequel, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But this is like a creepy, fast-paced kind of science fiction outer space thing that reminds me of some of the like great sci-fi horror movies that are out there.
Oh, man.
Keeps you guessing.
Yeah,
Can you
that's
trust
great.
who's telling the truth? All of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think space is a great setting for horror just because of how vast and quiet and dark it is. It's like, yeah, that's a great setting. So sounds really spine tingling. So my next book is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. Another first in
We like Brandon Sanderson.
Yes, I was actually, just gonna say, a very prominent, sci-fi epic fantasy writer, writes a lot of series. So this one started about 3 years ago. The third book is set to come out this year. So this is a good one to hop onto. It's a very current one. And this one pretty much is like underdog story meets space opera. So our main character is Spencer. And Spencer lives on a very war-torn planet. There are space fighter aliens that are attacking her fellow humans, and her village is slowly dwindling. There's very few survivors left. The remaining people, pretty much your best way for survival is to become a fighter pilot yourself. But it's actually kind of hard to do. And it's her dream. But she has a couple obstacles in her way to becoming a fighter pilot. And one is kind of prejudice. Her father was a very famous fighter pilot, but he was killed years ago when he actually deserted the rest of his crew in a mission. So people have this feeling about her and her family, how they're kind of traitors and all of this. So she has a very slim chance of getting into flight school, even though she wants to so badly. But one day she comes across this mysterious cavern kind of far away from the main part of their little area where they live. And she finds a very interesting ship. This is not a normal spaceship. It is a spaceship that seems to be sentient. It talks.
Ooh.
So, and not just talks, but actually cracks jokes and has a personality. So it's pretty wild. And this little funny ship may be the key for Spencer to actually fly to the stars and fulfill her dreams. So it's funny, even though it's like a space opera, like serious. Usually you think it's like serious, adventurous, has a lot of humor and lightheartedness to it as well. Another character she comes across to is this character with a very pretentious name, Son of Supernova. She comes to name him Jerkface. So they have a interesting relationship as well. So a lot of humor to this one. And also, is she going to help her village defeat the space alien? So gotta love it.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Based on Sanderson's other works, I'm sure it is gripping as well with lots of action.
Yes, absolutely.
So my next one is called Cosmoknights by Hannah Templar. And this is a graphic novel because I couldn't resist finding a graphic novel for this theme because there were several that came to mind. This one I actually stumbled upon, but I'm really glad I did because it was a super fun find. So this is basically like medieval times, but in space. In this universe, there are many different planets, and each planet has its own royal family.
Right.
when a princess of the royal family comes of age, there is a joust to win her hand. Now, this isn't a joust like you and I think of it. There's no horses. But it's more like this all-out battle, sort of like robotic fights almost. The knights, the Cosmoknights in the battle are geared out with all of this sort of like tech kind of suits. And it makes me think almost like Iron Man
Right.
of the look.
Yeah.
But they have all these different things outfitted on their suits, like jets and special weapons and things. And so at the end of the battle, the last knight standing wins the princess, except it's all gone commercial, because not only are the fights televised and like bet on, almost like a sporting event, all of the Cosmoknights are almost like athletes, because they're actually not winning the princess for themselves, but for their sponsors. So other royal families and nobility sponsor knights to go into battle for them to win the princess, which makes me think of Shrek.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Exactly.
throwing that out there, because
Right.
Shrek wins Fiona for Farquaad, you know. Anyway, so the knights are all these like sort of famous athletes that are televised and everything, and the battles can be really epic, but there's always like a few that are like the big, strong winners who've won a lot of princesses for their sponsors. And the sponsors change from battle to battle. And the sponsors are also somewhat secret. Like they don't necessarily say who their sponsors are. So all that being said, our main character, Pan, short for Pandora, was best friends with her planet's princess Terra. But Terra did not want to be won in battle. She wanted a say in her own future, and she begged Pan to help her escape the planet. And Pan did help her, but Pan was caught and blacklisted on her planet. Years later, which is where most of the action takes place here, she's still on her planet, working for her father in his mechanic shop, doing a lot of the grunt work, when one day 2 women show up on their planet needing help. One of them is badly injured, and Pan's mother, who is a doctor, tends to her wounds. But Pan notices something right away, and she realizes that these women are the Cosmoknights that she just saw on TV. Pan learns that not only are they Cosmoknights, but they do something super illegal. If they win their joust, these 2 knights, Cass and B, free the princess that they've won. They have no sponsor, and their goal is just to give these princesses options other than being won in battle to basically the highest bidder. So it's super illegal and very dangerous if they're found, plus obviously dangerous because they are going into battle where they can get injured.
Right.
But Pan figures out that she has nothing to lose, and so she stows away on Cass and B's ship when they leave her planet. And they are not happy about that. But Pan joins the world of these Cosmoknights, where, you know, your work friends are the ones who might actually kill you in battle later. And you have to constantly watch your back, because even though they're out there to save all these princesses, not everyone likes that, and people don't want them to be challenging the norm. And if they're found out, it could be very dangerous for them. This is, as I said, super fun. I read it very quickly, and I'm waiting for the second one because, of course, as with everything, it ends on a cliffhanger. I would say this is a little more older teens. I mean, the battle scenes aren't that bad, but there is some swearing included in it. But I really, really enjoyed this one, and I was really excited to find out that it's on Hoopla.
Awesome, man. What a clever concept for a book. That is so much fun. I love the world building, that everything you mentioned just sounds absolutely like a blast. So sounds great. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for this week's edition of All Booked Up with Cailey and Meg. We hope you found some good ideas for something to read next, and that you join us next time.
Yes, see you then. Happy reading.